Hey guys, in today's video we are going to build a simple Python project. We are going to build a simple tax calculator application using Python and Tkinter library. This project is for beginners who is looking to get some hands-on using uh, Python and Tkinter on Python GUI development space. So all right, without further delay, let's get started. First, I will show you like what we are going to build, and then we will dive deep into develop that application from scratch. So let me run the script first. So this is what we are going to build. We are going to build a simple tax calculator app, which will have three fields: income, percent, and tax, and it will also have a calculate button. So once you click on that calculate button, based on the whatever the data that you have entered in the income and percent, it will do some computation and show that tax amount in the tax entry box. So let's try with income as 10,000 and the tax percent is 10, and if I click on the calculate, it will do the compute and it will show that the tax amount that I have to pay in that tax label entry box. So it's a very simple app, no complex logic involved or no advanced concept involved. This is the reason why we are picking this project is to do some hands-on in the Python GUI development using Tkinter library. So this is what we are going to build. So without further delay, let's get started. So all right. So as I said before, like we are going to use the Tkinter library for development, but I'm preferring custom Tkinter library over Tkinter library because the reason is that the user interface is much more nicer when I use the custom Tkinter library. So there actually the custom Tkinter library is built on the usual Tkinter library only, but in addition to that, we will get some modern application widgets, which will make the application looks much nicer in the user experience. So that's why I'm preferring the custom Tkinter library over usual Tkinter library. If you want to know more about the custom documentation, and you can check the logics here. I mean the widgets and windows and those about that you can read here, and there are some good examples as well. You can use that to develop on your own. So that's the heads up about the custom Tkinter library we are going to use. And it's not normally like you have to import the Tkinter since Tkinter is comes as a built-in, but to use the custom Tkinter library you have to install first. So for that I'm doing pip install custom Tkinter. I have already installed the custom Tkinter library. You have that's why you're seeing the requirement already satisfied, but you have to install in your machine. So let's import the custom Tkinter, and I'm going to follow the object-oriented concept here. I'm not going to write the the designs. I mean the design in the sense the window object creation and everything as a normal Python script. So instead I'm going to follow the object oriented way. I'm going to create a class tax calculator, and that will have an initialization method. So here what we are going to initialize is that first we are going to create the window object that from CTK, and then we are going to give a title to that window object. Let's name it as tax calculator. And I'm going to set the geometry, I mean the size. I will pick 280 and 200. And also I'm going to set the resizable as false because I don't want to mess up the UI. So that's why I'm going to set the resizable as false, both width and height. I don't want to the user to stretch that application in either in a width or a height. So both of that I set as false. And also we will have a padding which will have the pad x will set to 10, or maybe for x we will set to 10. No, 20 will work, I guess. 20, and for y axis we set to 10. Yeah. I will come to that padding part later. For now, it's not going to create anything in the window. It will simply, we are just creating only the window objects. Let's create the label and entry field for income. Let me name it as income label, and I will use the CTK label, and I will use the window object and text as income, scabs, and yeah. So, and also let's put that in a grid. So the row should be 0 and column should be 0, and then it needs yeah, in padding, yeah. So this is where the padding comes in. Like we want some space between the components, so that's why we add the padding. And then now let's create the uh, income entry box, and that is from ctk dot entry, and that use the window object, and then think we don't need anything here, and let's move to the grid. Self dot income entry dot grid, and row should be 0, but this time column should be 1 because the column 0 is already occupied by the income label. So now we have to assign that in the column 1, and also the padding. Now we have everything for income. Let's move on to that percent. Let's repeat the same. I will just copy paste here, and I'm going to make some changes here. And this should be percent, and the now the row should be 1 because row 0 is already occupied by the income label and the income entry box. So the percent label and entry box should come in the next row, that is the row 1. So that's why we have these two in the row 1. Now the third is the tax label and the tax entry box. So self dot tax label, that should be ctk dot ctk label, and text should be tax. I'll simply copy paste the same thing. Tax label, row should be the second row, and yeah, tax. Okay, we have tax, and there should be a tax entry. Great, and they should be on row 2. So in addition to that, I want to show a default 0 in that entry box. So to do that, what we are going to do is that we are going to insert before this line, we are going to insert the 0 in that entry box. Insert in the 0th position, we will insert string 0. So we have everything now. I think at least we have done some progress. uh, we created the window object, and we have given title as tax calculator, and we have assigned the size of that window, and also we have set the resizable as false in both and width and height, and then we have a padding, and now we have income label and income entry, and also we have a percent label and percent entry box, and similarly we have a tax label and tax entry, and we also have inserted a 0 just to represent that we are yet to calculate that tax So that's why we have inserted a default value of 0 in the first place. And now we need to create a button, that is a calculate button. So that will be self dot calculate, and this should be a button widget ctk button. Okay, and the text, let's assign me the window first, and then text should be calculate. And we also have to assign this in a grid, self dot calculate dot grid. This should be on the row 3 and also in the column 1, because I want that button to be in the center of that uh, grid. So that's why in the row 3 I'm selecting column as 1. I'm also adding the padding details here. And now since it's a button widget, we also have to pass some command here, that which means that whenever the calculate button is clicked, it will do some operation at the back side, and it will do the computation and display the result, right? So for that we have to give some command to this button that, hey, once the button is clicked, do this operation. So for that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a class method which is a calculate tax. This method will do that calculation for us. So once this calculate button is clicked, it will do this, trigger this calculate tax method. So let's create the calculate tax method for this class. And for that, what we are going to do is that first we are going to get the income which was entered in that income entry, self dot income entry widget dot get. The reason why I have assigned the float is that sometimes the user may enter decimal values, or the point values more than 4 or 5. So that's why I have using float here instead of getting the value as integer. And the same time we also have to get that percent details should be percent, and this also needs maybe a float value. So that's why I'm using float. That should be flow self dot percent entry percent entry dot get. Okay, now we have the data that we needed, income and person. Now let's calculate the tax. So that should be tax equals to income star tax. Normal, calculation we do for finding the percent. So yeah, so we have the okay, this should be percent. No, sorry. Now let's, transform this into a string, because I want this to be passed as string. And also what I'm trying to do here is that I'm planning to display only the 2 decimal places. So that's why I put that everything in the f string to transform into string, and then show the truncate the decimal places into only 2 places. And if you want, you can add a dollar symbol here. Let's do that as well. Okay, we do have a dollar symbol now. And also there is a possibility that anything may go wrong here in the computation, right? Let's assume that the user is entering some characters instead of numbers. Then there is a possibility that it may run into some exception. So that's why I'm adding that a try except block to handle the value error. So in case if there is anything that is going wrong with the computation because the user is entering something invalid input, then I want to handle that. So for now I will print invalid input here. Okay, so we have done the calculate tax method, and where we have computed the tax, but the thing is that we want this data to be shown to this tax entry grid, right? After the computation of this calculate tax method, we want this tax data to be sent to that tax entry widget. There it has to display the tax amount. So for that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a one more function, def update result. I think that will be the proper name for it. And this will take a parameter, and maybe I will name it as text itself. Okay. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to target this tax entry widget, and first let's delete that everything whatever there is present in that widget from starting to end. And then what we do is that we are going to insert the data that we got, that we have computed. So for that we use, sorry, tax entry dot insert. In the from the beginning we insert this text that we have received. So we have created this update entry function. Okay, yeah, I think, yeah, that's way. Okay, just an indentation mistake. Okay, I have corrected it. So this tax value we have to pass to that update entry method, and the update entry method will update that tax information to the tax entry widget. So instead of here, I will simply directly call this update entry method. So this will do that, and the same thing for exception block as well. Instead of printing it, I will pass this text to the update entry function method. So that will update invalid input in the our application itself. So as a final step, now we have everything. Like we have created the window object with the configuration, and also we have the income label and entry, percent label and entry, tax label and entry, and we have created a button for calculating it, and that calculate button will trigger this calculate tax method. This tax method will get the income entry field, and also the percent entry value whatever the user entered, and based on these two data it will do the calculation, and it will compute that tax. And if in case if anything goes wrong, we also have the except block that will update as it is an invalid input. And as a final step, whatever the tax we have calculated, we are updating that text in the tax entry box to display it to the user. So functionality wise we have everything. Now as a final step, I want this window object to be available without closing. So for that, it's simply window self dot window dot main loop. This will keep the app running. And now as a final step, I have to create the tax calculator object, and I have to call this run method to execute this. So for that, if name underscore underscore main, first I will create the tax calculator object, and then I will call the run method. So I think we have done everything. We have used the custom Tkinter library by installing it, and then we created a window income percent tax and then calculate button, and on click of that calculate button we are calculating the tax, and we are updating that calculated value back to that tax entry label. So let's check now. Let's test now. Then tax calculator. Okay. So far everything good. We do have a nice, beautiful application open, GUI application open, and here let's calculate the tax. This time I will assign 50. Calculated $5,000. Let's give some negative as well. Okay, I'm negative 5,000. Okay. So it's handling everything. Let's check the negative scenarios. Like instead of entering some characters, invalid input. So this is working fine. Now as a final step, let's try something without anything in the in income. So that for that also it is displaying invalid input. So our application is working fine. Super. Yeah. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will include this code in my GitHub, and I will leave the link in the description, and you can follow the same to build your own tax calculator app. You can use the normal Kinter library to build this, or you can follow the custom Kinter also. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe. In the next video, I will be coming with an new project. So for that, please do subscribe and hit the like button. And thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.